So guys, obviously the Renegades expansion isn't coming out until December of this year, but with the reveal stream for this expansion taking place on the 9th of September alongside the release of the Ashen Iron update, today I wanted to speculate on one of the major additions coming with this next expansion, that of course being lightsabers. Now if you do not know, of course this expansion is Star Wars inspired, I believe they said, so we don't know how far into Star Wars it's going to lean into, but we do know that at least armor sets and weapons inspired by Star Wars are coming to Destiny 2. So today I wanted to speculate on how lightsabers themselves could actually work in terms of like element, rarity, and just general gameplay. So let's jump straight in. First off, with the actual like lightsaber colors and also elements and rarities of these weapons. Now, in the trailer as well as the image that we have for Renegades, we've only seen two lightsabers, those being a green lightsaber and a blue lightsaber. Now, those are the most common colors of lightsabers, but if you are a Star Wars fan or have just seen any form of Star Wars content, you'll obviously know that there are more colors than just green and blue. There's red, orange, purple, white, there's dark blue, I believe, as well, and different shades of other colors. There's even black as well. So just with those colours in mind, we can of course pair each colour to a different element within Destiny 2. And the reason why I think this is because inside of the trailer footage, when the Warlock ignites the green lightsaber, if you slow down the footage, like really slow it down, you are able to see these little green like weaves almost come off of the blade, which do resemble strand, and by looking at the image of the blue lightsaber, you can very easily see some blue arc lightning coming off of the blade. So I am assuming here that the colour of the blade will indicate what element the weapon is assigned to. So we obviously have strand for the green lightsaber, arc for the blue lightsaber, and I'm assuming that orange would be for solar, purple would be for void, dark blue would probably be for stasis, and white would be for kinetic. But we are obviously missing out one of the most important lightsaber colours, that being red. Now, I do not want to say that a red subclass is coming with this expansion, because that would be setting up my excitement levels way too high, but if they wanted to add a red lightsaber, it would make the most sense for a red subclass to exist. Now, another way they could do it is they could just make the solar lightsaber red, but that wouldn't really make sense as an orange lightsaber does exist, and solar's colour is orange. So either they don't add a red lightsaber in this update, which would be a huge loss, or they just add it as the solar saber, or we get a red subclass. Now, none of that is being confirmed, but that's just me going off of what we know so far. If a red subclass does end up coming, that would be amazing, but I'm not setting myself up to fail twice this year in speculating if that is at all true. With that said, let's now talk, of course, how these weapons could actually work, because obviously these are swords, and most swords in Destiny 2 are currently heavy weapons, except for Ergo Sum, which is a special ammo sword. Now, in order to have a sword work, you do of course need ammo, but lightsabers don't really work on an ammo meter in any kind of capacity. They're always available. So I feel like this would make the most sense for these lightsabers to be the first ever primary ammo sword in Destiny. This would also kind of be balanced if they were of course an exotic weapon as well, because that would take up your exotic slot, and if they were to do the same damage as a heavy weapon sword, having it always be available would be kind of strong, so putting it as an exotic would kind of balance that out a little bit. Now, obviously, I do think that these swords would be craftable exotics, so that means you'll be able to customize them in some way, which does make the most amount of sense in my opinion, due to lightsabers themselves being handcrafted by the user of them. They're all unique in their own way, so if there could be some kind of like hilt customization as well, that would be really, really cool, but I don't think it's going to go that far. I feel like it's mainly just going to be the color of the actual sabers themselves, and then just the actual perks on the weapon, which I do think could vary depending on what element of sword you go for. So if you go for a solar sword, you probably get things like incandescent or burning ambition on it, but if you go for an arc sword, you might get jolting feedback or volt shot, stuff like that. I thought it would be very, very cool. I don't know how that would work though in terms of actual crafting, because you'd need to just have the sword have a lot of available perks on it if that were the case, and then they would need to only be unlockable if they were assigned to the correct element, because otherwise you could then have a solar sword with jolting feedback, which wouldn't make all that much sense. So I don't know how that would work internally, but that's just my thoughts on it. Or they could just add their own unique perks to these swords themselves that are attached to each element, that just changes depending on what element is assigned, similar to Ergo Sum with its random rolls of, say, you can get the Galahorn Wolfpack rounds trait on it, and it can be a solar variant, or you can get, I believe you can get like a Telesto style trait, and it ends up being a void weapon. So maybe these would be a random exotic that you end up finding, and instead of it being craftable, it would come with a random exotic roll of it being, say, like a solar damage lightsaber, and comes with its assigned solar perks. Now, if it came from an exotic mission, that would be very cool, and having that mission be farmable to then get random rolls of these exotic lightsabers, I feel like would be really, really cool. But honestly, that's just me throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks in my mind. I do personally think, though, a craftable exotic sword would be a lot cooler. Just being able to like handcraft or anything rather than it being an RNG-based reward would be my personal preference. Now though, let's go over frames of these things. Now first up for frames, with the launch of the Edge of Fate expansion, we did actually see 3 brand new weapon frames come into the game, so I don't think it's completely out of pocket for Bungie to add multiple new sword frames with this expansion, especially if they are just exclusive for this new legendary or exotic lightsaber weapon type. And there is quite a few new frames that I've come up with for these lightsaber weapons, as giving them just the bog standard weapon frames I don't think would make the most amount of sense just for how unique these weapons are. So my first frame would be the throwing frame. I don't really have cool names for them, but we've seen in past Star Wars shows people being able to throw these lightsabers and them stay ignited. So it would kind of work like you would just throw the sword out and then it would either bounce towards other targets, which would be very cool, and that would use most of the sword energy which you would need to gain in order to use that ability again. Now that would be kind of strong inside of PvP if you were just able to constantly do this, but when has Bungie really cared about PvP, if we're being honest here? I feel like this would be so cool of an idea that I feel like PvP would either have to get special tweaks for this style of sword, or it would just need to be kind of not as available compared to other sword frames. Other frames could exist in the form of deflecting projectiles, so when you block with the sword, it would kind of work like that artifact did back in the Rise of Iron expansion inside Destiny 1, where I believe where you blocked with a sword, it would deflect the incoming projectiles shot at it. This obviously being a common theme with every lightsaber in Star Wars, and I feel like would be a nice addition. And of course, every lightsaber user is of course in some way attached to the Force, and whilst I don't think we're going to get full-on Force powers in this expansion, having some little nod to it would be kind of cool. So being able to pull in any nearby ammo or orbs of power, or many other collectibles, I feel like would be very, very cool for this type of weapon. And that is everything I have on my thoughts about how lightsabers could work inside of Destiny 2. But we still don't know anything really about this expansion or how any of this stuff could work, so please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be sure to read through them and see how this all pans out. Now, like I said, we are getting a reveal stream for this expansion on the 9th of September, so make sure that you stick around to this channel because I'll be having a full breakdown when that live stream ends, alongside a whole load of videos going over the updates coming with the Ash and Iron update. With that all said though, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because it really does help me out, and we're getting so close now to 2,000 subscribers, so any support there would be amazing. With that all said though, once again, hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.